$5 million. That is what one missing comma cost an American dairy company. Not a comma in the wrong place. A comma that was never there at all. So, how can a mark this small be worth $5 million? And stranger still, why did its absence help the workers, not the company? If your paycheck has ever depended on the fine print of a rule you never read, this is not trivia. It is everything. To understand it, you have to go back to a fleet of milk trucks in Maine, and the drivers who noticed something nobody else had. Oakhurst Dairy had delivered milk across Maine since 1921. Long before sunrise, its drivers were already on the road. They worked brutal weeks, often around 12 hours of overtime stacked on top of a full 40. But their pay did not always treat those extra hours like overtime. They earned around $50,000 a year, and for about 4 years, those 12 extra hours a week had never once been paid as overtime. So, 5 of the drivers sued for years of the extra pay they believed they were owed. And, for the dairy, this was bigger than 5 drivers. If they lost, every driver who had ever run those routes could line up for years of back pay. The dairy's answer was blunt: you are owed nothing. And to prove it, they pointed to a single sentence in Maine's overtime law. That sentence listed the kinds of work that do not earn overtime. At the very end sat the phrase that would decide everything: the packing for shipment or distribution of food. The dairy read it as a list of 2 separate jobs: packing for shipment or distribution. And distribution is exactly what the drivers did all day. The drivers read the very same words another way. With no comma before the word or, distribution was not a job of its own. It only described the packing. There was a second clue buried in the sentence. Almost every job on that list ended in the same 3 letters: canning, packing, storing. That distribution did not. It broke the pattern. And they never packed a thing. They only drove. So by their reading, the law simply did not cover them, and every extra hour should have been paid. Same sentence, same missing comma, 2 opposite meanings, and $5 million sitting in the gap between them. And here is where it turns from a lawsuit into something stranger. The missing comma was not a typo. It matched Maine's own house style. The state's official manual for writing laws told drafters in plain words to skip that very comma. Maine had, in a way, helped set the trap itself. At first, none of it helped the drivers. The lower court sided with the dairy, ruling the meaning was clear enough. The drivers lost. The first judge barely paused. The lawmakers, he decided, had plainly meant distribution to count on its own, comma or not. To him, the case was closed. So, they appealed, up to a federal court of appeals, and there, a judge named David Barron did something you almost never see in a legal ruling. He opened his official opinion with a single, quiet line. For want of a comma, we have this case. Barron found that the sentence was genuinely ambiguous. The law, he said, could honestly be read both ways. And in Maine, that uncertainty comes with a rule. When a labor law is unclear, the tie goes to the worker. That rule is no accident. Wage laws exist to protect the people doing the work. So when the words come out unclear, the worker is given the benefit of the doubt. So, the appeals court reversed the decision and swung the whole case back toward the drivers. Their lawyer, David Webbert, put it plainly. That comma, he said, would have sunk our ship. Because here is the twist that still makes grammar teachers wince. If the comma had actually been there, the drivers would have lost. They did not win because of a comma. They won because of the empty space where one could have gone. 4 years after it started, in 2018, it was finally over. No dramatic trial, no verdict read aloud. Just a quiet agreement to pay. A few months later, Oakhurst chose to settle rather than fight on. $5 million, shared among roughly 127 drivers. Years of disputed overtime, settled at last, over a punctuation mark that was never even typed. The case became legend. Today it is taught in law schools and writing classes alike, held up as the clearest proof that one small comma can carry the weight of millions. It even reignited one of the oldest arguments in the English language. Is that final comma just clutter, the way Maine believed? Or is it the one mark standing between clarity and chaos? And Maine, it quietly rewrote the law, but it did not add the missing comma. Instead, Lawmakers rebuilt the whole sentence with semicolons. They did not settle the comma fight. They just made commas irrelevant. We like to think of the law as something solid, precise, unbreakable. But it is built from the same tiny, fragile marks as a text message, and in Maine, one of them went missing and moved $5 million. Turns out, one of the most expensive commas in American legal history is the one nobody ever wrote.